The encrypted phone buzzed 3 times on Princess Anne's mahogany desk. 11:47 a.m., January 21st, 2026. She lifted her eyes from the morning briefings as her private secretary, Marcus, appeared in the doorway. His face was white. "Ma'am, the courier from Clarence House. Emergency protocol." Anne's fingers stopped mid-air above her fountain pen. Emergency protocol meant one thing: direct threat to the crown. Marcus placed the sealed envelope on her desk. The wax bore King Charles's personal seal, but the paper beneath felt wrong. Too thick, too corporate. She cracked the seal. The letterhead wasn't royal stationery. It was Sussex Foundation legal paper, backed by Hartwell and Associates Crisis Management, Beverly Hills. Anne's jaw tightened as she scanned the opening lines. This wasn't a family letter. This was a legal ultimatum. 5 demands, each one more audacious than the last. Demand 1. A permanent annual stipend of $4. $2 million, adjusted for California cost of living and 2026 inflation rates. Anne's eyes narrowed. She continued reading. Demand 2. The immediate and permanent restoration of Frogmore Cottage as the Sussex UK residence, with full security detail and household staff funding. Her breathing slowed. Demand 3. Access to the Queen Mary Bando Tiara for global brand partnerships and cultural ambassadorship initiatives. The pen in Anne's hand snapped. Demand 4. A $5 million education trust fund for Archie and Lilibet, managed through Delaware Shell Corporations. Demand 5. Retention of all royal wardrobes, ceremonial regalia, and historical artifacts currently in Sussex possession. The letter's tone was clinical, corporate. Each demand framed as essential elements of our continued partnership with the Crown Estate. But the final paragraph made Anne's blood run cold. These terms represent our final attempt at reconciliation. Failure to agree within 21 days will necessitate alternative strategies for protecting our family's interests and reputation. Harry's signature was at the bottom, but the handwriting above it wasn't his voice, and reached for her secure line. 2 rings. "William, we have a problem." Hi viewers, have you ever received a letter that made your hands shake with anger? Let me know in the comments what you would do if someone threatened your family's legacy. Anne's finger hovered over the red button on her desk, the button that would activate Protocol Storm. But as she stared at the letter's final line, she realized this wasn't just about money or houses or tiaras. Someone had turned her nephew into a weapon pointed directly at the heart of everything they'd sworn to protect. The secure conference room beneath Buckingham Palace hadn't seen this level of activity since the abdication crisis. Within 47 minutes of Anne's call, the inner circle had assembled. King Charles, pale from his morning treatment but sharp-eyed. William, still in his RAF uniform from a surprise base visit. Catherine, who'd abandoned a children's hospital engagement mid-handshake. "Show them," and said. William read the demands aloud. Each one landed like a physical blow. Catherine's knuckles went white against the mahogany table. Charles closed his eyes. "This isn't Harry," William said finally. "Harry doesn't know Delaware corporate law. Harry doesn't use phrases like cultural ambassadorship initiatives." "But Harry signed it," Charles whispered. The room fell silent. They'd all seen the signature. Shaky, reluctant, but unmistakably genuine. And placed a second document on the table. Arrived this morning. From Government Communications Headquarters. The folder was marked, classified. Ivory Shield briefing. They've been monitoring Sussex communications for 18 months. Standard security protocol for former working royals with foreign residency. William opened the folder. His face went gray. There's a timeline, he said. This letter isn't the beginning. It's the endgame. Catherine leaned forward. Endgame to what? A media campaign designed to force our hand. If we refuse these demands, they have a 3-part documentary ready to launch. Title, Exile or Empire. It includes unauthorized footage. Charles's hands trembled. Footage of what? William's voice cracked. Our children. George Charlotte Lewis. Private family moments. Recorded without permission during Sussex visits. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Anne's military training kicked in. She stood. Then this stops being about family reconciliation. Charles looked up at his sister. What does it become? A declaration of war against the crown itself. The forensic analysis began immediately. Each demand was dissected like evidence at a crime scene, and spread the documents across the conference table like a battle map. Demand 1 revealed the most about their strategy. $4.2 million annually wasn't chosen randomly. Palace accountants confirmed it matched the exact budget for a working royal's official duties, plus 40% for California living adjustments. They've done their homework, Catherine observed. This number puts them at the same financial level as working royals without any of the duties. Demand 2 was more personal. Frogmore Cottage represented proximity to Windsor Castle and the Wales family. Full security detail meant taxpayer funding for a private residence used part-time. Security detail access means intelligence access, William realized. They'd know our children's schedules, our movements, our security protocols. Demand 3 made and stomach turn. The Queen Mary Bandeau tiara wasn't just jewelry. It was a symbol of royal authority, worn only by queens and future queens for state occasions. They want to rent the crown jewels for commercial partnerships, she said flatly. Demand 4 proved the most calculating. The $5 million trust wasn't about the children's education. Delaware shell corporations meant complete financial opacity and potential tax avoidance. This isn't about Archie and Lilibet, Charles said quietly. This is about creating an untraceable slush fund. Demand 5 was the final insult. Royal wardrobes and ceremonial regalia were never personal property. They belonged to the Crown estate loaned during active service. They're treating our family's heritage like a costume rental business, William said, and pulled out a calculator. Total annual cost if we agree to all demands, £8.7 million per year, plus security, plus property maintenance, plus staff salaries. For 2 people who quit their jobs and moved to California, Catherine added. Charles stared at the demands. Where did our Harry go? Anne's phone buzzed. A text from her intelligence contact. Phase 2 document incoming. Urgent. She looked at her family. I don't think Harry's driving this train anymore. The second envelope arrived by motorcycle courier at 2:15 p.m. Same-day delivery from a classified intelligence facility outside London. And signed for it personally, her hands steady despite what she suspected was inside. The document was stamped Briefing Ivory Shield, code Lupus 88. She opened it in front of her family. 23 pages of intercepted communications, financial records, and surveillance footage. The picture it painted was devastating. Sussex Foundation hired Hartwell and Associates on December 3, 2025, and read aloud. Initial payment, $750,000. Project name, Operation Reconciliation. William leaned closer. Operation Reconciliation? Phase 1. Assess Crown Estate financial vulnerabilities. Phase 2. Identify emotional pressure points within the royal family. Phase 3. Coordinate media pressure campaign with legal demands. Charles's face went ashen. They've been planning this for months. Page 7 revealed the most chilling detail. A 3-part documentary titled Exile or Empire was already in post-production. Scheduled release, February 15, 2026. 3 weeks away. Episode 1. The Children They Left Behind. Catherine read, her voice shaking. Episode 2. The Grandmother They'll Never Know. Episode 3. The Crown That Chose Sides. And flipped to page 12. Surveillance photos of George, Charlotte, and Louis taken during Sussex family visits. Private moments in Kensington Palace Gardens. Christmas morning footage from 2023 when relations were still cordial. They recorded our children without permission, William whispered. For 18 months, and confirmed. Page 18 detailed the financial backing. 3 streaming platforms had already entered bidding wars. Minimum guaranteed payout, $47 million. Additional revenue from global syndication. Estimated $47 million. Additional revenue from global syndication. Estimated $47 million. Additional revenue from global syndication. Estimated $200 million. This was never about reconciliation, Charles realized. This was about creating a product to sell. The final page contained a timeline. If the royal family rejected the 5 demands by February 10th, the documentary would launch with maximum publicity. Celebrity interviews already scheduled. Major magazine covers pre-designed. Look at the guest list, Catherine said. Every major talk show host. Every entertainment reporter who's ever criticized us. And closed the folder. They've turned our family into their retirement plan. Charles stood slowly. Then it's time they learned something about the institution they're trying to extort. William looked at his father. What are you thinking? I'm thinking 48 hours is enough time for them to remember why the crown has survived for 1,000 years. The palace's response began at dawn on January 22nd. Not with press releases or public statements, but with something far more dangerous. Absolute silence. Every Sussex phone call to royal staff went unanswered. Every email vanished into digital void. The invisible army of palace communications, security, and administrative staff received a single instruction. Complete communication blackout. They expected negotiation and explained to the emergency council. Instead, they get nothing. William studied the intelligence reports. 3 missed calls from Harry's personal number to his private line. Text messages growing increasingly desperate. He knows something's wrong, William observed. Good, Charles replied. His voice carried a steel none of them had heard since his accession to the throne. The escalation ladder was now visible. December. Sussex Foundation established. January 3rd. Legal team hired. January 15th. Documentary filming completed. January 21st. Ultimatum delivered. Each step revealed the same fatal flaw. They'd mistaken the royal family's discretion for weakness. They think we operate like a Hollywood family, Catherine realized. Public fights, leaked stories, emotional manipulation through media. They forgot we're an institution, and added, institutions don't negotiate with extortion. By noon, the Sussex team was in crisis mode. Intelligence intercepts revealed panicked conference calls between Beverly Hills and Montecito. The silence was working. They need a response to maintain their timeline, Charles noted. February 15th documentary launch requires escalating tension. Without our reaction, they have no story. The afternoon brought a new development. Harry's personal lawyer had contacted Clarence House directly. Not through Sussex Foundation channels, through old family connections. He wants a private meeting, William reported. Just him. No lawyers. No Meghan. No cameras. Charles considered this. What does he want to discuss? According to his message, how we got here and how we get back, and pulled up the surveillance timeline. If he meets with us before February 10th, it disrupts their legal strategy. The documentary becomes evidence of ongoing reconciliation attempts. And if he doesn't, then we know he's chosen his side. The room fell quiet. Outside the windows, London continued its daily rhythm, unaware that the future of the monarchy was being decided in a basement conference room. Charles picked up his fountain pen. Schedule the meeting, but not here, and not on their terms. William raised an eyebrow. Where? Sandringham. Tomorrow at sunset. Just the three of us. And smiled grimly. The nuclear option? The family option. One last time. As intelligence reports continued flowing in, one detail made them all pause. The Sussex documentary wasn't just about money or reconciliation. According to intercepted production notes, the final episode was titled, "The Crown That Dies With Them." They weren't just threatening the current royals. They were threatening the entire future of the monarchy itself. Harry's Range Rover pulled through the Sandringham gates at 5:23 p.m. No security convoy, no photographers, just him, alone, driving the same route he'd taken countless times as a child. William watched from the library window as his brother parked near the old stables. The walk to the house would take 2 minutes. 2 minutes for Harry to decide whether he was coming home or delivering a final ultimatum. Charles waited in the Norfolk room, hands clasped behind his back. The fire crackled in the hearth where they'd opened Christmas presents for 30 years, where Harry had once begged to stay up past bedtime, where he'd cried when Diana died. The front door opened without a knock. Harry appeared in the doorway, thinner than his last public appearance, dark circles under his eyes. His jacket hung loose on shoulders that had carried the weight of royal duty until he'd chosen to put it down. Dad. William. No hugs, no smiles, just 3 men standing in a room full of ghosts. Charles gestured to the chairs arranged in a triangle. Sit, please. Harry remained standing. I assume you've read the letter. We've read everything, William said quietly, including the surveillance reports, including the documentary production notes, including the timeline for destroying our family. Harry's face flickered. It wasn't supposed to go this far. But it has, Charles said. The question is whether you're here to stop it or to watch it happen. The silence stretched between them. Outside, the Norfolk wind rattled the ancient windows. Inside, the future of the monarchy hung on whatever words came next. Harry finally sat down. His hands were shaking. They said it would be simple. Conversation. Nothing hostile. Just clarity about boundaries and expectations. William leaned forward. They? The team. The advisors. The people who were supposed to help us build something independent. Charles's voice was gentle. When did you lose control, son? Harry looked up. For the first time since entering the room, he looked like the boy they remembered. I think I lost control the day we left. The confession poured out like poison from an infected wound. Harry's hands moved constantly as he talked, picking at his wedding ring, running through his hair, gripping the chair arms until his knuckles went white. December 3rd. That's when everything changed. Meghan came home from a meeting with this new consultant team, said they'd analyzed our brand position, and found massive untapped revenue streams. William and Charles exchanged glances. December 3rd was the same day Sussex Foundation had hired Hartwell and Associates. The documentary idea came from them. They said our story was worth more than we realized, that we'd been thinking too small. What did you think you were signing up for? Charles asked. A family documentary. Something positive. Our life in California. The kids. Maybe some reflection on why we left. But nothing hostile. Harry stood and walked to the window. The same view he'd stared at during family arguments as a teenager. The first filming session was in our garden. Just us talking about starting fresh. Normal stuff. Then they started asking about you guys. About money. About security arrangements when we brought the kids to England. William's jaw tightened. The private footage of our children. I never agreed to that. They said they needed establishing shots of family interactions. I thought they meant public events. But you saw the cameras during private visits. They called them behind-the-scenes cameras. For bonus material. I never imagined they were building a case against you. Charles walked over to his youngest son. When did you realize what they were really doing? Harry turned from the window. His eyes were red. 3 days ago, when I saw the final demands letter. When I realized the documentary wasn't about our new life. It was designed to destroy your old one. The room fell silent again. The fire had burned down to embers. The legal team presented it as a negotiation starting point. They said families always make extreme opening offers. That you'd counter with something reasonable. William shook his head. Harry, those weren't negotiation terms. Those were ransom demands. I know that now. Charles sat back down. What do you want from this conversation? I want to stop it. I want to pull the documentary. I want to call off the lawyers. I want to come home. Can you? Harry's silence was answer enough. There are contracts, he finally admitted. Financial commitments. Production schedules. If I try to back out now, they can sue for the full production cost plus projected profits. How much? $87 million. The financial trap was more sophisticated than any of them had imagined. Harry pulled out his phone and showed them the contract structure. Sussex Foundation owed Hartwell and Associates $3.2 million in consultant fees. The documentary production company had advanced $3.2 million in consultant fees. The documentary production company had advanced $3.2 million in consultant fees. The documentary production company had advanced $12 million against future profits. 3 streaming platforms had paid $15 million each for exclusive bidding rights. They've made it impossible to walk away, William realized. Unless we fulfill the original contract terms, Harry confirmed. Which means the documentary airs, the legal demands proceed, and our family becomes a commodity. Charles studied the numbers. Or you declare bankruptcy and lose everything you've built in California. Everything except Meghan and the kids. The weight of that statement settled over them. Harry had 2 choices. Destroy his birth family or destroy his chosen family. Both options left him with nothing. What does Meghan say about all this? William asked. Harry's expression hardened. She trusts the team. She believes this is our best path forward. Even knowing what it does to us? She thinks you can afford it. She thinks the institution is strong enough to survive anything. Charles stood and walked to his desk. He pulled out a folder marked, Confidential, Crown Estate Finances. Show her this. Harry opened the folder. His face went pale. The Crown Estate lost £47 million during COVID. Property values dropped. Tourism revenue collapsed. We're operating on emergency reserves. William added, the £8.7 million annual cost of your demands represents 12% of our total discretionary budget. We'd have to cut staff, reduce security, eliminate charitable programs. But the tabloids always say you're worth billions. Property and assets, yes. Liquid cash for operations, no. We can't sell Buckingham Palace to pay your consultant fees. Harry slumped back in his chair. They told us the royal family had unlimited money. They lied to you, Charles said simply. The conversation shifted to escape strategies. Could Harry claim he'd signed under duress? Could they prove the consultants had misrepresented the financial arrangements? Could they somehow invalidate the documentary contracts? There's one option, William said slowly. But you won't like it. Harry looked up. Tell me.
We call their bluff. Let the documentary air. Let them make their threats public. Then we respond with the truth. What truth? Charles opened another folder. The complete financial records of Sussex Foundation. The consultant fees. The production advances. The streaming deals. Every penny they've made from attacking our family. Harry's eyes widened. You've been investigating us? We've been protecting ourselves. And now we're offering to protect you. The clock on the mantel chimed 7 times. Outside, the Norfolk darkness was complete. What happens if we do nothing? Harry asked. William's answer was cold. You become very wealthy. We lose our children's inheritance. The monarchy enters a constitutional crisis. Britain loses confidence in the crown. And what happens if we fight back? You lose your California life. Meghan loses her media career. But our family survives. Harry stood and walked to the door. His hand rested on the handle for a long moment. I need 24 hours. You have 12, Charles replied. The documentary promotion campaign starts tomorrow morning. After that, it becomes unstoppable. Harry opened the door, then turned back. If I choose you, I lose everything I've built for 4 years. William's voice was gentle. If you choose them, you lose everything you've been for 38 years. The door closed behind Harry. Through the window, they watched his taillights disappear into the Norfolk night. Charles poured 3 glasses of whiskey. What do you think he'll do? William accepted his glass. I think we're about to find out if blood is thicker than money. Harry's decision came not through words, but through action. At 3:47 a.m., William's secure phone buzzed with an encrypted message. Documentary master files deleted. Production halted. Legal team terminated. Coming home. By dawn, the Palace press office had received 47 calls from entertainment reporters, streaming executives, and documentary producers. The Sussex Foundation's $87 million media empire had vanished overnight. Meghan's response was swift and final. Divorce papers were filed in Los Angeles County Court at 9:15 a.m. Pacific Time. The filing cited irreconcilable differences regarding family loyalties and financial commitments. Harry's statement, released through Clarence House, was 3 sentences long. I have terminated all media partnerships and legal actions against my family. I accept full responsibility for decisions that damaged our relationships. I am returning to the United Kingdom to rebuild trust through service, not statements. The financial damage was catastrophic. Harry's Montecito mansion went into foreclosure within weeks. The children's trust funds were frozen pending litigation. 4 years of California life dissolved into legal proceedings and unpaid consultant fees. But as Harry walked through the doors of Kensington Palace on February 14th, carrying 2 suitcases and nothing else, something else had changed. The documentary footage still exists, he told William. Copies were made. They could still release unauthorized versions. Let them, William replied. The story's different now. You chose family over money. That's the real headline. Charles announced Harry's return during a routine Privy Council meeting. No fanfare, no press conference. Just a brief statement that Prince Harry had resumed residence in the United Kingdom and would be considering future service opportunities. The media frenzy was immediate. Entertainment Tonight canceled their 3-part Sussex special. Netflix quietly removed promotional materials for their Exile or Empire content. The vultures who'd circled the royal family's dysfunction found themselves with nothing to feed on. The institution survived because you chose the institution, and told Harry during their first private conversation in 4 years. I chose my real family, Harry corrected. Everything else was just expensive theater. Within 6 months, Harry had found new purpose. Not as a working royal, but as a private citizen supporting military veterans through quiet, unpublicized work. No cameras. No brand partnerships. No media statements. The Sussex Foundation was dissolved. The California consultants faced multiple lawsuits from investors who'd expected guaranteed profits from royal drama. Hartwell and Associates lost their Hollywood client base when word spread about their failed extortion attempt. Money makes people do terrible things, Charles observed during a family dinner that autumn. But family makes people do extraordinary things. Harry looked around the table at faces he'd almost lost forever. I learned the difference between being valuable and being valued. The crown had survived its latest crisis. Not through force or law or constitutional power, but through the oldest strength of all, choosing love over profit. 2 years later, Harry sat in a small veterans center in Birmingham, helping former soldiers navigate benefit applications. No cameras recorded his work. No press releases announced his presence. The men and women who sought his help knew him simply as someone who understood combat trauma and government bureaucracy. The documentary that was supposed to destroy the royal family had become a cautionary tale about the entertainment industry's appetite for manufactured drama. Film schools used it as an example of how not to produce ethical content. Meghan had rebuilt her career through a different path, focusing on genuine charitable work rather than celebrity activism. The children spent summers in England, bridging the gap between their parents' different choices. Regrets? William asked during one of their weekly walks through Windsor Great Park. About trusting the wrong people? Yes. About choosing California over family? Yes. About almost selling our children's privacy for streaming profits? Absolutely. About coming home? Harry stopped walking. Through the trees, they could see Windsor Castle, where their grandchildren would someday learn the same lessons about duty versus desire. Never. The crisis that almost ended the monarchy had instead strengthened it. The public had watched a family choose reconciliation over revenge, service over celebrity, and discovered that the crown's real power had never been in its wealth or titles. The consultants made one fundamental mistake, Charles reflected during the first family Christmas dinner they'd shared in 5 years. They assumed we were just another celebrity family fighting over money. What are we really? Harry asked, and raised her glass. We're an institution built on the idea that some things matter more than profit. The toast was simple. To family, to duty, to choosing what matters. The entertainment industry moved on to new targets. The streaming platforms found other content to monetize. The consultants and crisis managers who'd promised to weaponize royal drama discovered that their weapons were useless against people willing to forgive. Harry's story became a different kind of documentary. One about redemption, responsibility, and the price of almost losing everything that matters. The real story, Harry told a small gathering of veterans on the 5th anniversary of his return, isn't about palace intrigue or media manipulation. It's about what happens when you remember who you really are. The room was quiet. These men and women understood sacrifice. They understood choosing duty over easy options. They understood coming home. I spent 4 years trying to escape my family's expectations. It took me 12 hours to realize I was escaping from the only thing that really mattered: their love. The monarchy entered its next century not despite the Sussex crisis, but because of it. The institution had proven it could survive internal threats not through power, but through the revolutionary idea that some bonds are stronger than money. As Harry walked home through London streets that evening, he passed newsagents selling tabloids with new scandals and fresh outrage. The entertainment machine had moved on to easier targets. The crown endured. The family survived. And sometimes that's the most revolutionary victory of all. Thank you for joining us for this incredible true story of family, betrayal, and redemption within the British royal family. The Sussex crisis revealed both the monarchy's vulnerabilities and its greatest strength: the power of forgiveness. If the story moved you, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next story that inspires. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments about family loyalty, forgiveness, and second chances. Your stories might inspire others facing similar choices between money and family. What would you have done in Harry's position? Share your perspective below and help others with your wisdom. Until next time, remember that the most powerful institutions aren't built on money or fame, but on the courage to choose love over profit.